House Bill HB 2017. Short title, Appropriation STEM, STEM, Learning Workforce Development. Anytime we see appropriation in a bill, the red flag goes up, okay? This bill is going to be in the Senate Education Committee on the 23rd, and it was introduced by Representative Udall. And let me read to you briefly what the summary of this bill is from the legislature's website. Appropriates the sum of $3 million from the State General Fund for the fiscal year 2022 of the Arizona to the Arizona Commerce Authority. Now that is a private organization that's going to get $3 million from our government. I call that monopoly money that they get to play with. I would love to have some of that $3 million to play monopoly with. But anyway, it's designed to administer a grant program to cultivate science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which is what STEM stands for both learning and workforce development. Now, hear this. It is exempt from the provisions of ARS 35-190. Now, for those of you who do not know what ARS 35-190 is, that is the statute that says if you do not use the money that has been appropriated, you return it back to the general fund. But this bill is exempt from doing that, which means that the Arizona Commerce Authority gets to keep all their monopoly money to continue playing with it regardless of whatever happened. This is an extremely bad bill, okay? Yet, it passed the House 50-10. 50-10 it passed the House. Actually, 2 Democrats voted against it, which is surprising.
Very.
Yeah, 2 Democrats voted against it, and I'll out them just in case. Freeze and Powers Handling. Both of them voted against the bill. And the other 10, the other 8 out of the 10 that voted against the bill were Republicans, and I'll tell you real quickly, because these are the only people that have any sense as far as I'm concerned regarding this bill. Burgess, Fillmore, Fincham, Grantham, Huffman, Parker, Payne, and Roberts. So thank you, you voted against this bill, but it wasn't enough. It passed 50-10. Now today, we are fortunate to have with us Diane Douglas to assist us with these education bills. Most of you already know that she is, or she was for 4 years, a full term, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, which is the head office dealing with education in Arizona. So she's extremely well versed in educational matters, and that's why we have her with us, assisting us with these education bills. We appreciate your help.
And it's a pleasure to be here, Jose and Archie. It's a pleasure to be here. One thing that Archie pointed out to me as we were looking, and I kind of went, $3 million, wow, is that is also, if I'm not mistaken, ongoing funding.
It is available the wording says that we anticipate that they're going to be doing this again next year. But the difference in it is that it doesn't say how much they're going to appropriate next year.
You mean it could be more?
Could be.
Yep, anything's possible.
Could be. STEM education is good for our children. Certainly, I keep telling every student, every child I run across, boy, learn to read, learn your mathematics, and you can write your own ticket this day and age with how poorly others are educated. But I think part of, as they always say, the devil is in the details. And where exactly will this money be going? Well, first of all, it'll be under the purview of Arizona Commerce Authority, which is a private organization, correct?
Correct.
So they're getting taxpayer money. It could go to, if you don't mind me just reading a little bit, entities in a county that have established a network of cross-institutional partners from business, education, community, and government It can go to schools and school districts, which are already being funded to teach kids science and math and technology and engineering studies. Out-of-school programs, I don't even know what that means. Museums, science centers with expertise in STEM, higher education institutes, and other entities that recognize a need for STEM competencies. Is there going to be any way to evaluate how the Commerce Authority uses this money? Will it be, borrowing from my husband, what if technology is COBOL that nobody wants anymore, nobody needs anymore, nobody sees? What is the evaluation going to be of how effective these programs are? And quite frankly, I always get very nervous about funding programs like this. Where did this come from? Who gave Representative Udall the bug in her ear that this was a needed program, additional funding over and above? And I get wary that, sometimes very precious taxpayer dollars are going to end up in pockets of people who have an idea that may or may not be effective, that have just a program they've pushed along through to the legislators, or is it Brother Joe or Cousin Harry's?
The way I look at this is that we have in place in the schools, I think if they don't, they should have in place in school this type of education, where you do teach the kids the math and the science and all that.
And we also have what are called CTEDs, Career Technical Education Districts, that tend to be more learning and certification for industry to get kids through, but they can still touch in many of these areas, and they have their own funding source. I get very wary of public money to private industries and private organizations and what exactly is going to happen with it, and not just from the cynical taxpayer point of view, but dollars are very precious, and we need to get what we can to our children. We can't just give gifts, if you will, blank checks that will be spent. I think before anybody thinks about voting yes for this, there needs to be a lot more answers on what's the $3 million going to be spent on? What is the oversight going to be for the $3 million? Once they get it, can they basically do whatever their board chooses to do with it? And exactly how much are we thinking it's going to be down the line? And I very much disagree with funding for arbitrary programs like this, that if they don't use the money, it doesn't get reverted back to the general fund. That's another big problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a big
Well, I can tell you what I always say when I read one of these bills and it's introduced by Udall: grab your wallet. Udall don't know what she's doing.
Well,
and
see,
she's
that's where I disagree. She knows exactly what she's doing.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I suppose from that point, she
Yes.
probably does, and she's under the thumb of the teachers' unions.
Well, I don't even see
but
this as
understand-
a teachers unit. What lobbyist brought this? That
Oh,
would be my question. That's where I think it comes from, whoever represents the Arizona Commerce Authority.
well, the Arizona Commerce Authority was created, I can't remember now how many years ago, but when they were it was created by statute. It is a public-private partnership. And they were provided with their own source of funding when it was created. Now, this is an appropriation over and above what they already get. And as I pointed out to you, they're anticipating that they're going to appropriate monies each and every year hereafter. That's what's provided for in the bill. I have no problem with STEM, and I have no problem with STEM in remote areas of the state of Arizona. But I do have a major problem with appropriating money to a private organization and allowing them to just spend it however they want to. And there's no requirements here on any requirement for them to provide any oversight on how they spend this money. And also, the money is not, it's an anti-lapse. The money does not lapse and go back to the general fund. You gotta watch your wallet whenever you're talking about appropriations and Udall. Now, the other thing I'll point out to you that with the special appropriations bill this year, we are approaching $1 billion in appropriations out of the budget over and above the regular budget. These are just coming out of the general funds.
And that, folks, don't forget that our budget, what, was 11-something billion last time?
Yeah, it's
And
going to be
we're-
over 12
Over
this year.
12.
About 12. So we're already talking about at least 8% over and above whatever the budget turns out to be with these special appropriations.
Yes.
In an economy that's been shut down for a year.
Yeah, right now, our unemployment rate is 6.7 in Arizona, partially because of what we have done regarding the virus and so on and so forth. So we really cannot afford to do these things and remain solvent.
We can't, and as we talked about a bill last week in which there was an appropriation, a special appropriation of $300 million. That's a lot of money. That's a
Yeah,
lot of
well,
money.
$1 million here and $1 million there, pretty soon you're talking real money, huh?
And another thought on what you mentioned, Archie, that the Arizona Commerce Authority already has its own funding source.
It does.
So my thought would be, I mean, if I were in business, and I spent many years in business, your money is your money, your funding is your funding. So if you think STEM and this program is so important, I don't know what else they do. I'm not impugning the work they do, but it becomes a give and take. So if this is that important, look at your budget, find out what programs may not be as effective now as they used to be or may not be as needed now, and then fund this program. That's
I agree.
responsible.
I agree.
But why do
administration.
that? Why do that when you can go to the taxpayer and get more money?
Boy,
With
we're
that,
gonna-
folks, our consensus is contact your legislators, the members of the Senate Education Committee, and say no, no, no.